Speaking of CNN, all the terrible things that happen over there on that network, you'll recall we covered the great conversation between podcaster Joe Rogan and Dr. Sanjay Gupta. They had a very spirited discussion around vaccination, myocarditis, whether children should get it, etc. It was actually pretty cordial. We played the particular part here on the show where Rogan grills Sanjay Gupta and gets Gupta to admit that they should have not have called ivermectin, quote, horse dewormer while on the air, explicitly saying repeatedly that Rogan consumed horse dewormer, which Rogan, I think, rightfully sees as, you know, a slander against him and really defamation. But, you know, given the laws and all that, it really wasn't going to work. Well, what is really disgraceful, in my opinion, is that CNN then dragged Gupta on the air of the network and basically forced him to retract his comments about ivermectin and horse dewormer. And Don Lemon essentially makes Gupta sit there during this struggle session where he's like, we didn't do anything wrong, right, Sanjay? And gets Gupta to like say like, yes, it's correct. There's no evidence around ivermectin and all that. I mean, what I take away from this is Gupta's in an extraordinarily difficult position. I took away from the interview with Rogan that he is a genuinely good person. At least that's what came across from me. I think he was coming at this honestly. He clearly listens to Rogan. He wanted to communicate something. And I thought he was a straight shooter as they come kind of within that industry. I've met him before and he's an extraordinarily nice person. But on CNN, it just goes to show that if you want to protect your job to survive in this industry, you have to just like basically conform and, you know, spit out the party line. I'm really not exaggerating here. Just for those who are listening, I actually encourage you to watch this clip just so that you can see how much they make him squirm. Watch Don Lemon basically whip Sanjay Gupta into compliance, saying that they didn't do anything wrong. Let's take a listen.
So very important. I know it's in large part a tongue-in-cheek interview, you know, because it's Joe Rogan and there's a lot you're jockeying back and forth. But he did say something about ivermectin that I think wasn't actually correct about CNN and lying, okay? Ivermectin is a drug that is commonly used as a horse dewormer. So it is not a lie to say that the drug is used as a horse dewormer. I think that's important, and it is not approved for COVID, correct?
That's right. That's correct. It is not approved for COVID, and you're right. I mean, the FDA even put out a statement saying, you know, basically reminding people, it was a strange sort of message from the FDA, but they said, you're not a horse, you're not a cow, stop taking this stuff, is essentially what they said, referring to ivermectin. Now, I think what Joe's point
that
is...
It has been approved for humans, but not necessarily for COVID, right? Yeah.
That's correct. It's been used for a parasitic disease, for something it's called river blindness, and it's been very effective for that. But, you know, just because it works for one thing doesn't mean it works for something else. Right. And, you know, there's still a few ongoing clinical trials around ivermectin, but for the most part, if you look at the data, there's no evidence that it really works here. When Joe got sick, he took ivermectin. He also took monoclonal antibodies, which is, you know, an infusion of these antibodies. So he took both those things. It's very likely it was the monoclonal antibodies that made him feel better so quickly.
Sanjay, always a pleasure. I hope this was an easier experience than Joe Rogan. You held your own, though. It's very good.
3 hours. I mean, I don't think I've ever spoken to another human for 3 hours before just like that. It was really something.
Sanjay, thank you. Best of luck with the book as well. Got it. World War C.
Thank you.
That's a pretty remarkable interview there, Krystal. He's like, oh, we didn't do anything wrong. I mean, you know, and it's funny. I've seen these memes going around where it's like Joe Rogan drinks water and they're like, and CNN is like, Joe Rogan consumes liquid, sometimes used as an engine, you know, carburetor, engine coolant or something like that. Look, Rogan, all that other stuff aside, can't you just admit that you screwed it up? Just say it. Just be like, listen, Sanjay, you made a good point. They also point out the evidence or whatever around ivermectin. That's fine. But they still force him to come on the air for his struggle session to be like, no, we didn't do anything wrong. We didn't do it. And he's just sitting there. He's like stone-faced. It's repulsive to me.
There's a couple things that are funny about it. First of all, I like the way that Lemon frames the beginning as a tongue-in-cheek interview.
Yes.
That he did with Rogan.
Why is that tongue-in-cheek?
As a way to diminish it. Like, oh, we get, you know, as a way to like give him a pass for going on with the, you know, with the terrible Joe Rogan. It was tongue-in-cheek. It wasn't a serious thing.
Yes.
When in reality, the conversation that they had over the course of 3 hours, going back and forth and citing evidence and talking to each other about the risk factors and, you know, digging into the statistics was a million times more serious than what they do on CNN all day long, and certainly what they did on CNN right there. There's another moment there that I think is very revealing, though, where Gupta starts to say, I think the point that Joe was trying to make, and then Lemon jumps in and cuts him off, because it seems like Gupta is about to say, like, he was trying to make the point, like, I didn't take horse dewormer, I took the human version, and that is extraordinarily common, and no, there isn't a lot of evidence that it's effective for coronavirus, but there is evidence that it's effective for other things like river blindness, as Gupta points out here. And you know, he references the evidence, which is important. But yeah, I mean, the obvious takeaway from that interview should have been, you know what, guys, we got this wrong. Look, there are some people who, because there's been a run on ivermectin, have been taking the livestock version. They shouldn't do that. It's not safe. But Rogan is not one of those people. And to act like ivermectin, that across the board, the only thing it's used for is horse deworming, is just a lie. Yeah. It's just not true.
That's true.
And the real point that Joe made, I thought very effectively with Sanjay, which of course they're not gonna get to at all, is that when you lie about something basic like that, what does it do to people's trust of what you're saying on anything? Yes. And that's the real issue here. It's not about Rogan or what he took or his ego or anything. It's about you lied on something super basic. And even now, when you're caught red-handed, you still can't admit it. You still can't say, you know what, we got this wrong in this way, and we wish we'd said it in a different way. Let's move forward and we're gonna do better.
No.
Just say that. That's it. That's all we want.
That's all. And you know, it's just, I always think back to that, which is that in the past, whenever CNN and other organizations would screw up like this, it's just be like, listen, we screwed up. This was something, or even say this, our opinion commentators made a claim. It was inaccurate. We're sorry. And we do, you know, that's not something that we're going to stand by. And I just love being like, oh, it was a tongue-in-cheek interview. It's like anybody going on CNN, that should be the real tongue-in-cheek for this country. But if you want to know really how the media did treat Joe whenever this was happening, whenever he was sick, I mean, frankly, in my opinion, they were wishing him ill. This is how they actually spoke about him. Let's take a listen to this.
CNN is saying I'm taking horse dewormer.
Rogan telling his 13 million Instagram followers that he was treated with several drugs, and he included ivermectin on the list, a drug used for livestock.
Rogan said the word ivermectin. Yes, that's the deworming medicine made to kill parasites in farm animals.
Why would they lie and say that's horse dewormer?
So things are clearly bad, but they're being made even worse by people who have refused to take the vaccine and instead are swallowing horse paste.
Wait a second. He said that he got better because he ate cattle dewormer.
They must know that that's a lie.
You have individuals like Joe Rogan, for example, who don't want to take an experimental vaccine but will take horse dewormer.
I mean, look, we could play even more of that if we wanted to. You know, that was CNN and MSNBC. And I think it's very important that people understand how these people were talking about it, why they should just retract it and just say, look, that's not what we were meant, or, you know, Sanjay was right. And at the end of the day, the fact that they had to bring him on the air and basically like publicly whip him and say, no, we actually did everything okay, I think that's really disgraceful, Krystal.
It is disgraceful. The other thing is, I believe that he got a lot of pushback. Sanjay Gupta did. Doing this interview.
I believe he wrote an op-ed about it.
I believe that this was a sort of professional risk for him, and that in terms of his social set and in terms of, you know, the people who are his friends at CNN, they thought this was a terrible idea, that he shouldn't go on there, that he shouldn't, you know, quote unquote legitimize
so outrageous.
Rogan, who has a like wildly larger audience than they do. Yeah. And so I do want to still give him a lot of credit for doing it anyway, for doing it effective, for engaging in good faith. And I think that conversation did way more to educate people who may have had some questions and not already been exactly in the place that Gupta is, than anything that he's done on CNN this entire time.
I think that's exactly right.
Hey guys, thanks so much for watching.
That's right. Just as a reminder, you can become a premium subscriber today. Watch the full show completely uncut, our reactions to each other's monologues. You get to listen to it. You get to ask us questions, all that good stuff. Link is right there in the description or at breakingpoints.com.
Best of all, great way to say screw you to the mainstream media.